In the thrilling world of audio compression, there's a lot of acronyms floating around out there, and well, almost no one has any idea what they mean. Well, I'm going to try and clear it up. So next time you're sitting around with your friends talking about iPods and other MP3 players, you can bring out your inner geek and start telling them what all these formats stand for. Let's start with the obvious one that everybody's heard of, MP3. Everybody knows what it is. It's a compressed music file. But go on, take an informal survey and ask if anybody has any idea what it stands for. Well, unless you're living in an MIT dorm, you're probably not going to find too many people who have a clue. What MP3 stands for is MPEG-1 Audio Layer 3. So great. We have an acronym defined in part by an acronym. So let's really get things cleared up. MPEG stands for Moving Picture Experts Group. So MP3 actually stands for Moving Picture Experts Group 1 Audio Layer 3. So next time you're sitting around with your friends, you can ask them if they want to listen to the newest Weird Al track on your Moving Picture Experts Group 1 Audio Layer 3 player. Now, you may be placed in permanent exile for that one, or they may pull your tighty-whities over your head and place you headfirst in a trash can. But hey, at least you know what you're talking about. Moving on. Now, MP3 didn't just magically appear out of thin air. The engineers didn't just say, hey, let's make a format and we'll call it 3. Engineers are not that creative. They counted. There is an MP1 and an MP2 format. And you want to guess what they stand for? Well, if you said MPEG-1 Audio Layer 1 and MPEG-1 Audio Layer 2, you are absolutely right. Congratulations. Now each one's a little bit more complicated than the next, and when they got to MP3, they had what was considered a faithful rendition of a CD. Not exactly, because every compression format has some loss, but it's still pretty close, and it sounds good enough to everybody except the most discerning audiophiles. Now, there is an MP4 format, and what does that stand for? MPEG-1 Audio Layer 4? No. Most commonly, an MP4 is actually MPEG-4 Part 14. However, MP4 doesn't necessarily mean it's an audio file. It can have video, audio, both, some subtitles. You know, it's kind of like Mom's mystery meat casserole. You're never quite sure what you're getting with an MP4 file. Now Apple, who is credited with developing the first standards for the MP4 format, solved this by making audio files in the MPEG-4 Part 14 format M4A. So for audio files, they're in M4A, so MP4 is part of that format. So now we understand MP4 and MP1 to MP4. So let's cover some the other formats. We'll take the successor to the MP3 next. It's the AAC file. Now it seems harmless enough. It stands for Advanced Audio Coding. However, technically it's still part of the MPEG family, and the standards are defined in MPEG-2 Part 7 and MPEG-4 Part 3. So what was harmless at Advanced Audio Coding becomes Moving Picture Experts Group 2 Advanced Audio Coding, or Moving Picture Experts Group 4 Advanced Audio Coding. Now that doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, does it? We'll stick with AAC, I believe. So does anybody actually use the AAC format? Oh, you betcha. This is what your iPod comes in. Now, the quality is better than the MP3, and it supports digital rights management, which the record companies, of course, like. Not all MP3 players support AAC yet, especially older ones, but most newer ones do. Now, of course, there's other formats out there, such as the WMA file. Fortunately, this one is pretty harmless. It stands for Windows Media Audio. Microsoft developed this one to compete with the MP3 format, but it never really caught on, although Microsoft still uses it and its newer WMA Pro format. So you'll still see some songs in this format, just not many. And then there's WAV files, WAV, which isn't typically a compressed format, but I wanted to bring it up here. Again, this one's not bad. This one stands for Waveform Audio Format. Now, a lot of people mistakenly think this is what CDs are recorded on, and the actual format, the audio is, and this is just the format it's stored on computers. For CDs, that's compact discs, they use a format called Redbook. Now, the last format I want to cover here is the OGG format, the OGG. doesn't actually stand for something besides OGG Vorbis. It was developed by the Zip.org Foundation, and it was developed to be an open source replacement to the MP3. It was developed because the MP3 is a patented format, and the company owning the patent was planning on charging a licensing fee for MP3s. So the OGG format is actually only supported by a limited number of MP3 players, but a lot of larger companies like Sony websites and Wikipedia prefer the OGG format since it's open source and there's no licensing issues there. And that's really all I've got here. I'm sure I've left some formats out. There's a bunch of them. Just let me know. I'll cover them in a later video. And for now, you can go out, take your newfound knowledge, and impress your friends with this bit of trivia about audio compression acronyms.